Yes, first I want to thank WNAS for inviting the candidates in here for this forum. I had intended to talk about change, basically, in this, and every time I come through those doors, I'm really struck by the changes that have occurred here since I was a student. It's just phenomenal to me. When I began to think about running for re-election, I had to think about it quite a bit because, on the one hand, I think of being a councilman as being a very good honor. Being elected to any level of government is a high honor, I think. But on the other hand, it's a big time commitment, and it does have its share of frustrations. So change, as I was going to say, is inevitable. On the coming city council, we have one member who's not even going to run for re-election. So there will be a new lineup there, and I don't know how that will affect things, but I look forward to the new council and hope to be a part of it. Since being first elected to the council, I've had to change my view of how the council works. I naively thought that when I became a councilman, I could just take my ideas and make New Albany a better city. But that is not exactly the way it works. You have to build a consensus on the council. Mainly what we do is we react or respond to initiatives by the mayor or the administration. So my decision to run again boils down to the fact that I do think that my voice will be valuable on the council and guiding the change that we're going to see. Part of the background that I bring to the council is I have a strong 20-year plus experience in the environmental field. I've worked in the recycling industry for that amount of time, and prior to that I've been a strong environmental advocate, and so I hope to bring that to the council. It informs any of the decisions I would make there. My wife and I are even involved in the ownership of a historic property, which is also, I think, at the bottom line is an environmental commitment. It helps save a building. It helps to revive a neighborhood. Some of the accomplishments I've looked at trying to look over the past few years is, I think it's 2013, we had a vote came before the council for the House legislature Indiana House had proposed a constitutional amendment to ban same-sex marriage. When we stood and heard from the people who were out in the audience telling us about their hopes and fears, it was gratifying to feel that we were, at that moment, we were their government. We were the ones they came to talk to when they had these concerns. And so that's the kind of thing that is one of those honors, I think, that I spoke of earlier. In 2010, we had a sewer system that was just about to, pardon the pun, go down the drain. It was in bad financial shape. We were discharging polluted water into the river. The council took some steps to bring stability back to that utility, and today we're on a much sounder financial footing. We have an A+ bond rating, and we're no longer discharging, barring some kind of an unforeseen accident, we're not discharging polluted water into the river. The parks were overhauled in the last couple of years. There was an inequity between the city and county funding of that joint venture at the time. That has been changed, and I think now the New Albany parks are on a much sounder footing and should continue to provide recreational activities for the citizens for a long time now. A couple of initiatives that the mayor has undertaken directly address the park situation. One is the building of the aquatic center. The other is the Silver Street Park at the old Hoosier Panel site. I wasn't truly on board on that aquatic center in the beginning, and so I went out and I went door to door and asked citizens what they thought. I talked to a couple hundred people and got really no negative response. So even though I was skeptical at the beginning, and I'm still skeptical to some extent as it unfolds, but at the beginning that skepticism was pretty much wiped away by the overwhelmingly positive response of the citizens. The Silver Street Park, I really didn't need any convincing on that, and just the other day, a week or so ago, went in there and took a visit at that facility, and I think that what that says for the Fairmont Park neighborhood there is very hopeful, and I think that we'll see a revival of that neighborhood down the road, which is already starting. Looking ahead to the next 4 years, hopefully, one thing I hope to see is a bold rollout of these street reforms that are being considered. It's not just where there's a street study that was done and it's being vetted before the community, and it's not simply a change from one-way to two-way streets. It's also making New Albany a more livable community. That livability is important for commerce. It's also important for sustainability, and it allows us to have, we have a very good housing stock in New Albany here and close to the center of town, and we can take advantage of that by making the community more walkable, more livable. That leads to another concern which has recently come up, which is code enforcement. It's a perennial concern, and what we need to do on that is to make sure that New Albany has a very high concentration of rental property. We need to make sure that the people who offer their properties for rent take extra care in the safety that they are renting out to the community. So those people need to be held to a higher standard, and that may involve rental registration. It may involve just keeping a registry of repeat offenders and singling out people who are slumlords. Another thing, an asset of New Albany is a lot of historic buildings, and we need to, I think, establish a registry of an endangered list, if you will, of those historic properties, and we can then take steps to ensure that those properties are protected. Finally, proper placement of a dog park. If we're going to build this dog park, it's obviously an asset to the pet owners, but we need to use that infusion of city funds to take advantage of cleaning up blighted areas, perhaps making the Greenway a more fulfilling trip for people to take, so you have dog owners go down and maybe place the dog park adjacent to that river Greenway. In closing, I'd like to say every election truly is about change. This election is no exception. And I honestly believe that I can be a positive force in helping guide the change that we will inevitably see in the next 4 years. And I ask for your support and your vote.